Guess who's getting married? I am getting married rather too soon for my liking, and I have not got a dress yet because for quite a few years I have thought if I get married then I want to make my own wedding dress, and I just couldn't find the right pattern until a few months ago when I found this. This is a vintage McCall's pattern from the 1930s, and it's actually a reproduction of that pattern made by this lovely person here. Because it's a reproduction, I am hoping, fingers crossed, that it will have some updated instructions for the modern sewist, because I find vintage pattern instructions so confusing. Anyway, this is probably going to be a several part video series, because first, before I make my actual finished wedding dress, I'm going to make a mock-up in a different fabric so that I can make sure that I have it down pat and can make any alterations before I cut out my really nice wedding dress fabric. So I've had a peek at it, and the paper pattern in here is just one giant sheet from which I have to cut out all my pattern pieces. So let's throw this on the floor, start cutting it out, and let's have a chat while we're down there. This is just the instructions. So they look like the original 1930s instructions to me. This is the pattern. Just keeps going and going. It is safe to say that at this point, I'm feeling just a tad overwhelmed. All right. Get my wrists nice and limber. Time to cut a lot of paper. Cutting out the pattern and we're gonna get married. Well, this is infuriatingly slow, so for you guys, you get a time lapse. It's time for another time-lapse song. I'm worried it won't be as good as the first one. Oh, what's that? The first one, you ask? Well, friend, that's a video that was uploaded in the past, and you would have memorized it and sing it every day if you were a true fan of this channel. A time lapse is useful, don't you see? So you don't have to sit through hours 3 of me doing something that is really quite prolonged. Instead, you get a cool time lapse and a time lapse song. I am done. So I started cutting the patterns out on the thick line there, and then that became far too tedious, trying to cut it perfectly out on the line. So then I just cut roughly around it. Anyway, so when I do use this to cut out the fabric, I'll just put this down flat on the fabric, and then I'll go over the thicker outer line with my rotary cutter, hoping that will work. Anyway, these need ironing before I do anything else. Ironing some paper with no steam. I hope it doesn't catch on fire. I've just got a song in my heart today. All right, I successfully did that without starting any fires. And I'm gonna lay the pieces out so that I can see how many we have, what we're dealing with, how much fabric it looks like I'll need. All right. So we've got the front pieces, the side piece, the 2 straps, and the back pieces. And all of these need to be cut out twice. Yep, I foresee a lot of cutting fabric out in my future. Oh look, it's me cutting things out. Oh, my hair grew so long. Instead of cutting things out yourself, get your friends to do it for you instead. I love to sneer. So I'm actually not forcing Fiona to be here. Let me out! She is here of her own free will. We kind of struck up a deal. Fiona is selling the most adorable cross-stitch dress-up doll pattern. Some of the outfits look like Mario and Princess Peach.
No, they don't! Don't get me for copyright, okay? Don't tell people that.
Some of the outfits are generic princess and generic overalls with red t-shirt, and they're very cute, and there's some other really cute outfits that go with it as well. This would be such a good gift for anybody who loves cross-stitch in your life, or for you to stitch up yourself and make as a gift for a kid for Christmas, or an adult, honestly, because I had so much fun playing with it.
I love to sneer.
Now this is Fiona's time-lapse tune, who is making quick work of this fabric all strewn. What a great friend to help me, what a show of mateship, in Fiona's own words.
I love to sneer.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm just laying the pieces out because it helps my brain figure out how I'm gonna sew them together. This is all the front pieces of the dress, and this is all the back pieces. The fabric I'm using for the mock-up is just this cheap secondhand fabric that I literally have so much of. I have this uncle who once had this company and he was getting rid of a whole lot of fabric rolls that were in his basement. Long story. Anyway, it's so good to be using it up, and this pattern needed about 5 meters of the stuff. Most importantly, I know this fabric doesn't shrink when you wash it, which is good because I couldn't be bothered pre-washing it. I actually do want this mock-up to be wearable if at all possible, so I am doing it in a fabric that I would actually love to wear, and also it is basically the same shade as the color of what is going to be my final wedding dress fabric, which is, drumroll please, this fabric here. So with the mock-up, I'll be able to get a really good idea of what my final piece will look like. Okay, less bitchin', more stitchin'. These instructions, y'all. Why'd you have to go and make things so complicated? I guess that everyone, everyone raised as a woman in the 1930s knew how to sew, so the instructions don't hold your hand all the way through, and they assume they know what you're doing. Rude. I need that hand holding. You can't just spring make underfacing on me. All right then. What'd I say before? Less bitchin', more stitchin'. Yeah. Okay. Psych, I gave up on it for the day and I went swimming instead. Next day. So, interestingly, according to the instructions, I need to start with a finishing. Specifically, I need to finish the neckline with metered bias underfacing. However, the instructions on just how to do that are very sparse. They assume I know how to do that already. Never done it in my life. Luckily, this isn't the 1930s and Google exists. After absorbing many a tutorial from the internet, I'm going to show you how I applied bias binding to a corner. Also, I'm going to assume some basic knowledge of how to apply bias binding here. Oh, by the way, this hairstyle here, yeah, that's not a fashion thing that I'm trying on. I mean, like, it kind of is. This isn't the final product. I've got these hair rollers in because I'm currently setting my hair so that I'll have beautiful, voluminous, bouncy curls. Yeah, so, yeah. Step 1, get some bias binding that kind of sort of matches. Good enough for the mock-up. For the actual wedding dress, I'll probably make bias tape from the actual fabric. Step 2, pin the bias binding right sides together to the right side of the fabric, as you normally would to the first edge. Step 3, when you reach the corner, fold the bias tape like I'm doing with my fingers here, folding it at like a 90-degree angle. Some extra bias tape fabric will be folded underneath in order for you to make that turn. Then pin it in place and continue pinning the bias tape on up the other side. Step 4, now it's all nicely pinned on, it's time to sew it in place. Sew on the ditch made in the bias tape to apply it. Starting at the edge we pinned, then when you get to the corner, sew until you reach the ditch on the tape on the second edge. Leave the needle in the fabric, lift the presser foot and pivot so that you're going down that second edge. And then keep sewing. Looking good so far. Step 5. Cut notches into the seam allowance, making sure not to cut through the stitches. This will make the neckline look as neat as possible when it's folded over. Step 6. Flip the bias tape over to the wrong side of the fabric. Press with an iron so it's all flat and crisp. So that there's no visible stitching on the right side of the fabric, a lot of blogs told me to hand stitch the bias tape down on the wrong side, but I actually don't care. At least for the mock-up, I'm just gonna sew this baby down with my machine, and then maybe my actual wedding dress, I will slip stitch it so you can't see. Future Annika, when you're re-watching this, to make your wedding dress, don't be lazy, slip stitch the neckline. For lazy folks, step 7 is to stitch the bias tape to the neckline on the wrong side with your sewing machine, just like I'm doing here. Metered corners, achievement unlocked. I'm so proud of this. Look at it. Look at this metered corner. She's beautiful. Now I've got to make some pleats. I am now transferring the marks for the pleats from the pattern piece to the back of this front piece, using carbon transfer paper and a tracing wheel, which looks like this. This part was easy. All I had to do was fold the fabric at the solid line and bring it to the dotted line, pin it in place, and then repeat that, so doing it twice on each side, and then baste the pleats into place. I also had to make the same pleat on the center of this piece, and then the instructions say to tack this in place. After 10 minutes of confused Googling about what the difference between tack and baste means, I realized tack is the same as based. Why have you used two different terms for the same damn thing? At this point, I think these instructions are just trying to trip me up. Another note to future Annika. Don't be lazy at this point. Hand sew this on your wedding dress fabric. Past Annika's just gonna use her sewing machine. Now the fun begins, and I actually get to start sewing the dress pieces to each other. That is, when I can find the actual piece I'm meant to join this to, because there's a lot here and they all look the same. Again, the instructions for this are real sparse. Literally just says sew lower front to upper front, and I'm just gonna go ahead and assume that that means sew it right sides together. And look how nicely those two pieces slot together. Of course, this is garment sewing, and so they'll need to be attached right sides together, so I'll just flip this over. Now, those two edges don't go together at all. How do I sew two reverse zigzags to each other? Okay, cool. This pattern is my nightmare. It was then that I decided to leave the project alone for the day and come back to it tomorrow with fresh eyes. Oh, and by the way, this is the final look with my hair. Not at all sewing related, I just wanted to prove to you that I was actually doing something with those rollers there. So I ran away yesterday when I realized what I had to do for this dress. I have to sew a bunch of inset seam. Now, I haven't really done a lot of inset seams before. I've been putting off learning, but I guess now I kind of have to. So this afternoon, I spent a few hours learning and then having fun practicing inset seams, which is something no one has ever said, ever. Anywho, I got progressively better at it. This is kind of what we're aiming for with the dress, but with the same fabric on both sides, obviously. So for the uninitiated, an inset seam is synonymous to torture, and it's where you take a piece of fabric that has an inside corner like this and try to sew it to another piece that has an outside corner by sewing it right sides together. You see how this gets tricky? As you can see, my wedding dress has not one, not two, but 3 of these corners in a row, which is a lot for someone who has never done this technique until today. Nonetheless, let's frickin' do it. With a chalk pencil, I marked out the seam allowance on both the right side and the wrong sides of the fabric on the 2 seams that I'm gonna be attaching. I also made a cross where the 2 seam allowances intersected at the corners. That cross is important because it's the point at which I'm going to leave my needle down in the fabric and then turn. This needs to be precise. So I started by just pinning that first seam in place and then sewing it normally. When I reached the corner, I put my needle down through that cross at the corner and, leaving the needle down, brought the presser foot up and swiveled the top piece of fabric around so that the next 2 edges line up, matching up the notches as closely as I could, and then I can start sewing down the next seam. I sewed down this side until I got to the center of it. Then I secured my stitches and I took the dress out from under the sewing machine. I flipped the project around so that I will be continuing from the same spot, just on the other side of the fabrics. And then I repeated what I did before. Sewed down to the chalk cross on the corner, left the needle in the fabric, turned the fabric, pulled the top bit of fabric over, and then continued sewing to the middle of that seam, and switch. Then repeat one last time. I hope that made sense, because it was really frickin' complicated to do. The seam was then pretty funky to press open, but press it open I did using one of these, a tailor's ham. I love the name for them, which really helped me out with pressing these weird corners properly. I did it! Look at this! It's so good! I am so happy because I honestly didn't think I was gonna be able to do that. And I think that's probably the hardest seam of this dress. Fingers crossed. So, next step. Let's see what minimal instructions it has for us. It says step 3, sew back to side back. So that means this part's gonna be left aside for the moment. Next, I laid out the back piece and the 2 side back pieces. Then I pinned this right side back on, right sides together with the back piece, and sewed down its length. Then I pinned the other one on, right sides together, but leaving the top part open and unsewed, as that is where the hook and eye closure will eventually be going, and sewed down its length. And now to this back and side back section, I am adding the 2 side pieces. Ooh, and look how much fabric we've got down here. This dress is going to swish. Let's have a chat while I pin these, shall we? I think that this is one of the most fashionable outfits I've ever worn. No, they're just my pajamas. I'm not getting out of my pajamas today. It's 35 degrees and incredibly smoky outside, so I'm not leaving the house and I'm not gonna get out of my pajamas today either. So I just posted something to Instagram that said that I'm starting work on my wedding dress, and a few people commented that making your own wedding dress is bad luck. Thanks, guys. Well, I can't say that I believe in bad luck. I believe that the universe is chaotic and random and often quite unfair, but I am not at all a superstitious person. But just to demonstrate the differences between me and Lucci on this, hey Lucci, I'm gonna open an umbrella in my YouTube video.
Oh, don't do that.
Hey Lucci.
It's bad luck.
Hey Lucci.
Yes.
I hope my head explodes.
Don't. Okay, but say you don't mean it. Oh, you're torturing me. Say you were joking.
I was joking.
Please don't open an umbrella.
Anyway, after learning about this, I was interested to find out what other superstitions there were around weddings all around the world. There are a lot. Finding a spider on your wedding dress is considered, some websites said bad luck, some said good luck, and well, I live in Australia, the home of spiders. I mean, that's probably something that's just gonna happen. Another one is have a cat eat out of your left, it's important, have a cat eat out of your left wedding shoe. That is good luck, apparently. So if you're not gonna make your own wedding dress for luck reasons, you also gotta let a cat eat out of your left shoe. It's also super disgusting. Now, one that still seems to be big in America from what I can tell, the groom shouldn't see the bride's wedding dress. Now, obviously I'm just talking about very heterosexual weddings here, but this one is definitely not gonna happen with me and Lucci. This dress is taking up an entire room of our house, and I can't just be to Lucci, hey, you can't go in 1/3 of our house for several months. Plus, I am really excited about making this dress, and with all of my projects, Lucci's usually the first person that I show because I get really excited to show him and he's so supportive of me. He loves seeing the things that I make, and that's why we're getting married. Okay, pin this together. Let's take it over to the sewing machine. Doop-de-doop-doop-doop, that's me sewing these seams in place. Also, I didn't mention this before, but for the mock-up, I'm finishing each seam, just using pinking shears and then pressing them open. For the actual wedding dress, I'm probably gonna do something a little bit more fancy, because I really don't want the seams to fray on that one. Okay folks, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. Otherwise, at this rate, I'm not gonna get a video out for several months. Pattern's a lot harder than I was anticipating. As is becoming abundantly clear, this dress is more of a marathon than a sprint. So we gotta pace, we gotta conserve our energy because we still have a long way to go. Now, stick around for some post-video bloops, but right now I have a message to bring you from my sponsor Squarespace. Hello, future husband / fiance / Luciano.
Hello, future wife / Annika / Annika. I've got something I'd like to discuss with you.
Okay.
I've got a few ideas for websites. Can I pitch them to you?
Sure.
It's called paperwaterbottles.com.
And what does this involve, paperwaterbottles.com?
Well, I was on the Google one day and I thought, they've been making water bottles out of everything nowadays. Plastic, metal.
Not good for the environment.
Not good for the environment. Metal. Not good if you throw it at someone. Too hard. Wood. Same issue and you'll get splinters. But I didn't see any water bottles made out of paper.
Okay.
Make it out of a thin paper and it's easy to store flat.
So is this an idea for a website or a product?
Well, the product is made. The product is completely made.
Is that what those boxes in our living room are?
Yeah, that's what those 200 boxes are in the living room.
Oh dear, Luciano, I think we need to have a talk about how water and paper work.
So I've got my 200 paper water bottles, but now I need some way to get the message out there.
Well, if you're looking for a good place to make a website and to sell your paper water bottles, you could use Squarespace.
What's Squarespace?
Well, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform where you can create your own website, and you can also sell things on your website because it has inbuilt commerce features. Hang on.
I'm not some kind of steampunk goggle-wearing, top hat-having, gear in my hat having goggle-wearing genius, alright? I don't know how to do a bunch of coding and fixing. What happens if I have a problem with a website?
Look, you don't need to worry about coding. Literally anyone can make a website on Squarespace. It's so easy. They have a whole bunch of award-winning templates, and all you gotta do is drag and drop things. You don't have to know anything about coding, nothing about HTML. You can spend like 10 minutes on it and you'll have a decent looking website for your paper bottles.
Wow, that's gonna really make them shine.
Squarespace has inbuilt e-commerce, and you can sell products right from your website. You can manage your products, your orders, and your inventory as well. so you'll know how many you've sold, and hopefully we can get those paper water bottles straight out the door.
If you can make it, it should be made.
No, I don't think Squarespace want us to use that as the tagline. Instead, what Squarespace do want us to say is, are you ready to start your new business? Then make it with Squarespace.
Exactly.
From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics.
Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business.
If you are ready to get started showing off your business or your creative idea to the world, then you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain by going to squarespace.com/Annika. Link in the description.
Oh, now that we've finished the ad, I put one of the paper water bottles down here. I'm just going to have a drink. Ah, that's weird. Where my paper water bottle was, there's just this puddle of slop. It kind of looks like wet toilet paper.
Oh man, Lucci!
Did someone replace my paper water bottle?
Oh.
With a pile of slops? Papery slop?
This is not gonna work. Thank you to this episode's sponsor, Squarespace, for helping to make this video possible, and to my amazing Patreon family. I literally wouldn't be able to make these videos without you, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, and I also have new merch. This bag rules, literally. There's a ruler right there. I've also got this pin, which has a good sewing joke on it, and this pin here is a kick-ass disability empowerment pin, and you can get them from down below the video. I'll see you all for part 2, where hopefully I can get this dang mock-up dress sewn up, and I can start working on the actual wedding dress. Stay crafty. Mwah.
Another website I wanted to do is Jeff Goldblum's Golden Blooms. So this would be a business where we sell bespoke flower bouquets made out of solid gold by Jeff Goldblum.
Are you actually in contact with Jeff Goldblum, or?
I figure make the website and then Jeff will get involved.